I should have run. That's what my therapist back in Brooklyn would say. Hell, that's what the voice in my head screamed as the F train rattled back to life, the fluorescent lights flickering like a bad omen over the sea of exhausted commuters. But there I was, 26 and broke, slinging overpriced lattes at a Soho cafe by day and crashing on my roommate's lumpy couch by night, staring into the eyes of this guy who looked like he'd stepped out of a J. Crew catalog crossed with a courtroom drama. His name was Ethan Hale, he told me as we exchanged numbers in the crush of bodies surging toward the doors. 29, junior associate at a white shoe firm on Wall Street, fresh off a divorce from a woman he'd married too young to please his Texas oil family parents. It was never right, he'd said. His Texas drawl softened by years in the city, like honey over gravel. And you? What's a pretty barista like you doing touching strangers on the subway? I laughed it off, but inside, my stomach twisted. Pretty. That word always landed like a hook in my gut, pulling up memories I'd buried under student loans and late-night grinder regrets. I'd come out at 19, back in Ohio, in a hailstorm of Bible verses and slammed doors from my evangelical folks. New York was supposed to be the reset, big city, big dreams, big anonymity. But anonymity meant hookups in bathroom stalls and ghosting before dawn. Never this. A suit-wearing stranger with laugh lines around his eyes and a wedding band tan line still fading on his finger, asking for my real name like it mattered. Dinner was at a dimly lit Italian spot in the village, the kind with checkered tablecloths and candles that dripped wax like tears. Ethan showed up 10 minutes late, tie loosened, sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms dusted with dark hair. Forearms that, when he reached for the bread basket, brushed mine again, deliberate this time. Tell me everything, he said, leaning forward, his knee pressing against mine under the table. No games, no bullshit. Just that intensity, like he was cross-examining my soul. So I did. Spilled it all over plates of carbonara that grew cold untouched. The dead-end graphic design gigs that never panned out. The ex-boyfriend who'd bailed when I couldn't afford rent in Bushwick. The gnawing fear that I'd peaked at 22 with a half-finished art degree and a portfolio of sketches no one wanted. I'm just drifting, I admitted, tracing the rim of my wine glass. Like the train that night. No stops. No destination. Ethan's hand covered mine then, warm and steady, his thumb stroking the back of my knuckles in slow circles that made my pulse stutter. Drifting's not a crime, Justin. It's just the space between chapters. His eyes held mine, green-flecked hazel under the low light, and for the first time in months, I felt seen. Not as the broke queer kid from the heartland, but as someone worth the ticket price. We walked the cobblestone streets after, the November chill nipping at our heels, his arms slung casual around my shoulders like we'd been doing this forever. At my subway stop, he pulled me into an alcove by a brownstone, the brick rough against my back, and kissed me. Not tentative, not testing. Deep and claiming, his lips tasting of Chianti and salt, one hand cupping my jaw while the other tangled in my hair. I melted into it, hands fisting his shirt, the city noise fading to a hum. When he pulled back, forehead to mine, he whispered, "This isn't an accident anymore." That night, I lay on the couch in my threadbare boxers, staring at the water-stained ceiling while my roommate snored in the next room. My phone buzzed with a text. "Can't stop thinking about that dimple on your left cheek. Breakfast tomorrow?" I smiled into the dark, fingers flying over the keys. "Only if you promise not to sue me for emotional damages." The weeks blurred into a montage of stolen moments, the kind that felt scripted for a rom-com but hit like heroin, addictive, terrifying. Mornings bleeding into his alarm clock in a Tribeca loft that smelled of leather-bound books and fresh espresso. Afternoons sneaking kisses in Central Park, his briefcase forgotten on a bench while we fed the ducks stale bagels. Evenings where he'd cook, surprisingly domestic for a guy who billed $500 an hour, stirring risotto while I perched on the counter, sketching him from memory, charcoal smudging my fingers like bruises. Ethan was a revelation. Raised in the oil patch sprawl of Midland, Texas, he'd fled to Yale on a debate scholarship, clawed his way to Columbia Law, all to prove he wasn't the soft boy his daddy called him for loving poetry over football. The divorce? A green card marriage to a sorority sister. A desperate bid to buy time before the family cut him off. I thought I could fake it. He'd confessed one rainy night, rain lashing the loft windows as we tangled in his king-sized bed, sheets twisted like our secrets. But faking kills you slow. Then you touched me on that train and, boom, lights out. I traced the scar on his ribcage. Appendectomy at 12, he said, but it felt like a map of all the times he'd cut himself open to fit someone else's mold. You're not faking now? I murmured, lips brushing his skin, tasting the salt of him. And God, neither was I. With Ethan, the drift stopped. I started pitching freelance designs to indie mags, landing a gig for a queer-lit journal that paid enough for my own sublet in Williamsburg. He came to my first gallery pop-up, a dingy space in Bushwick with exposed brick and fairy lights. Standing in the corner in his pinstripes, clapping loudest when the curator name-dropped my name. "Proud of you, darlin'," he drawled later, pulling me into the alley for a smoke, our breaths mingling in the cold air. But cracks spiderwebbed early if I'd looked close. His phone buzzed constantly. Partners at the firm, late nights at the office that stretched to dawn. "Corporate rating," he'd say, kissing my temple before vanishing into the night. I'd nod, ignoring the knot in my gut, because when he came back, he'd bring takeout from that hole-in-the-wall falafel joint and fuck me slow against the fridge, whispering how I was his anchor in the storm. Thanksgiving loomed like a guillotine. "Come home with me," he said one crisp November morning, flipping pancakes in nothing but boxers, flour dusting his chest hair. Home meaning Midland, the viper's nest of Bible studies and oil derricks. I froze, spatula midair. "Your folks, they know." "Not yet." His jaw tightened, that lawyer mask slipping. "But this us, it's real. I want them to see." I wanted to believe him, wanted it so bad I booked the flight, packed my one decent sweater. But on the red-eye to Dallas, his hand in mine under the armrest, I couldn't shake the whisper. What if they see you and hate what they find? The Hale Ranch was straight out of a western. Acres of scrubland dotted with pumpjacks nodding like praying mantises. A sprawling adobe house with a wraparound porch and a flagpole flying Old Glory high. Ethan's mama hugged me stiffly at the door, her perfume cloying as magnolia, eyes flicking over my tattoos like they were leprosy. "Y'all must be Justin," she said, smile brittle. "Ethan's told us so much." Daddy Hale was worse. A bear of a man with a handshake like a vice and eyes that dissected. Dinner was brisket and beans. The long oak table groaning under silver and crystal. Conversation skating over politics and pipelines like ice too thin to trust. Ethan sat beside me, thigh pressed to mine under the lace tablecloth, his foot hooking my ankle in silent solidarity. But when his sister, blonde, bubbly, on her third husband, asked about my line of work, I choked on my sweet tea. "Graphic design," I managed. "Freelance, mostly." "Artsy type, huh?" Daddy boomed, fork spearing a potato. "Ethan here's the real earner. Keeps the lights on for all of us." Ethan's laugh was forced. "Justin's got talent, Dad. His work's in galleries." The table fell silent, fork scraping. Mama's eyes darted to Ethan, then away, like she'd seen a ghost. After pie, when the men retired to the den for scotch and Fox News, she cornered me in the kitchen, suds bubbling in the sink. "He's always been sensitive," she said, voice a hiss. "Poems and such. We prayed it'd pass. This phase. It ain't forever, is it? Sugar?" My throat closed. "It's not a phase, ma'am." She dried her hands on a dish towel, monogrammed H. Family's family. Blood don't lie. That night, in the guest room with its floral wallpaper and lumpy mattress, Ethan slipped in after midnight, locking the door with a click. "I'm sorry," he breathed, crawling under the covers, his body molding to mine. We moved quiet, desperate, his mouth on my neck, hands mapping me like contraband. "I love you," he gasped against my ear as release hit, the words muffled in the pillow. First time he'd said it. I clung to him after, heart hammering, pretending the walls weren't listening. We flew back the next day, Dallas fading below like a bad dream. At JFK, he kissed me fierce in the arrivals lounge, tongues and teeth, earning stares from harried families. "We're good," he said, hailing a cab. "Better than good." But the seed was planted. Late nights turned later, his texts sparse, trial prep. "Miss you." I filled the silence with sketches, of him, of us. In a leather-bound journal he'd gifted me, pages filling with charcoal lovers tangled in subway cars, courtroom confessionals. My pop-up show sold 3 pieces. One buyer, a silver-haired gallery owner, slipped me his card with a wink. "Raw emotion. Call me, we could do a solo." I texted Ethan the news over Thai delivery, but he was in deposition. When he finally crashed through my door at 2 a.m., reeking of bourbon and rain, he barely glanced at the check stub on the counter. Babe, the merger's killing me. Some Saudi prince is screwing the client. I pulled him to the couch, straddling his lap, kissing the tension from his jaw. Tell me. He did, in fits and starts. Billable hours pushing 80 a week, partners breathing down his neck for billables, the divorce settlement draining his savings. I need this promotion, he said, head in my lap as I stroked his hair. Equity partner by 32. It's the dream. Your dream or theirs? The words slipped out, sharp. His eyes flashed. What's that supposed to mean? I backpedaled, but the damage lingered. We made up in the shower, water sluicing over us as he pressed me against the tiles, fucking the fight out slow and thorough. You're my dream, he growled, nipping my shoulder. Don't forget. Christmas came wrapped in tinsel and tension. I met his New York friends, a pack of Ivy League sharks in lofts overlooking the Hudson, toasting with view while dissecting Roe v. Wade's corpse over charcuterie. They ribbed Ethan about his Midwest boy toy, clapping my back like I was the comic relief. He laughed it off, arm heavy around my waist, but his grip bruised when his ex called mid-party. Drunk, demanding alimony tweaks. Who's that? I asked later, snow falling fat flakes outside his floor-to-ceiling windows. Lauren. He poured another scotch. She saw my Insta, us at the tree lighting. Thinks it's a rebound. Is it? He set the glass down hard. Jesus, Justin. After everything. I crossed to him, hands on his chest. I'm sorry. Just scared. Of what? Losing this. I gestured between us, the city glittering like a promise. You. He softened, pulling me close. Never. But January bit hard. My solo show got a write-up in Time Out. Emerging queer voice captures the ache of urban longing. And suddenly I had emails from curators, a stipend from an LGBTQ plus arts fund. Ethan celebrated with a bottle of Dom at Le Bernardin, toasting my big break between courses of uni and caviar. But his smile strained, phone glued to his hand even at the table. Then the call came mid-February, while I was framing pieces in my sunlit Williamsburg studio. Babe, I got it, he shouted, voice echoing off subway tile. Partner track. Dinner at the firm, black tie. Be my date. I hooped, dropping the hammer on my thumb. Hell yes. The firm party was at the Rainbow Room, Art Deco opulence with a jazz trio and champagne flutes that cost more than my rent. Ethan shone. Handshakes with silver-haired rainmakers, backslaps from the managing partner. A guy named Hargrove who eyed me like fresh meat. Hale's little artist, he boomed, clinking glasses. Keep him grounded, son. We need you focused. Ethan's laugh was polished. Always, sir. We danced after, his hand low on my back, swaying to Ella Fitzgerald under the chandeliers. This is it, he murmured, lips brushing my temple. Us against the world. But as the night waned, Hargrove pulled him aside. Whispers in a corner, Ethan's face paling under the lights. When he returned, his tie was retied too tight. What? Nothing. Politics. He forced a grin. Let's get out of here. We tumbled into a cab, his mouth on mine before the door shut, hands roaming urgent. At his loft, he took me apart, rougher than usual, nails digging crescents into my hips, like he was staking claim. Mine, he panted, collapsing beside me, sweat slick and spent. I traced his spine, heart full. Always. Spring teased with cherry blossoms in the Bowery, our rhythms syncing like a well-oiled machine. My mornings in the studio, his in depositions. Evenings tangled on his balcony, city lights winking approval. I even met his sister on a girls' trip to the Hamptons. She hugged me tight, whispered, "Thank you for making him smile again." Life felt solid, the drift a distant memory, until the envelope arrived. It was tucked under my door one muggy May afternoon, cream stock with embossed lettering. Hale and Associates. Inside, a single sheet, invitation to the annual retreat, Aspen, all expenses paid. For partners and significant others. I grinned, texting Ethan. Packing my ski pants. Can't wait to see you in Lederhosen. His reply took hours. Can't make it. Work emergency. Go without me? Disappointment stung, but I shrugged it off. Lawyers, right? Instead, I crashed with a friend in the city, nursing a beer at a dive bar when my phone lit up. Not Ethan. A blocked number. Voicemail. Justin? It's Lauren. Ethan's ex. We need to talk. Meet me. Tomorrow. The Oak Room. Noon. My gut plummeted. Lauren, blonde, broken, the ghost in our bed. I deleted it, but sleep evaded. The ceiling fan whirring accusations. She was already there, perched at a corner booth in a sheath dress that hugged curves like armor. Martini sweating on the table. Mid-30s, polished as a pearl, eyes red-rimmed but sharp. You look like him described, she said, no hello. Hungry. I slid in opposite, pulse thudding. What's this about? She pushed a folder across. Manila. Innocuous. Open it. Photos spilled out. Ethan. Laughing in a candlelit booth with a guy, tall, dark, ivy poised. In a midtown steakhouse. Timestamp. Last month. The night of my gallery opening. Another them in a hotel lobby, hands brushing. Emails printed. Ethan's signature bold. Missed you last night. Lauren's suspicions are killing the deal. Coffee soon? The world tilted. This? No. His associate, she said, voice flat. Tyler Voss. Golden boy. Hargrove's nephew. Ethan's been mentoring him for months. Or more. She lit a cigarette, illegal indoors, but no one cared. I hired a PI after the Insta post. Thought it was you he was hiding. Turns out, it's this. I shoved the photos back, bile rising. Why tell me? Because I'm done being the villain. She exhaled smoke, a dragon in defeat. He used me for the firm, married me to look straight, climb the ladder. Now you're his experiment. But Tyler? That's ambition. I bolted, photos clutched like shrapnel, hailing a cab to his office. The receptionist buzzed me up. Mr. Hale's in a meeting. But I stormed the glass-walled conference room anyway, bursting in on suits mid-slide. Ethan's face drained of color. Justin. Meeting over, I snarled, tossing the folder on the polished table. Photos fanned like a bad hand. Tyler, there, across from him, eyes widening in faux shock. Gathered them quick, but not before the partners murmured. Out, Hargrove barked, but Ethan was already chasing me into the elevator, hand jamming the doors. Babe, listen. Don't. The descent felt endless, his pleas echoing off steel. Tyler? While I'm sketching us forever. It's nothing. Late nights, stress. Bullshit. The lobby blurred as I shoved past, his grip on my arm bruising. You're just like your dad said. Soft on the inside, steel on the out. Faking it all. He recoiled like I'd slapped him. I love you. Liar. I wrenched free, storming into the May heat, tears hot on my cheeks. The city swallowed me, horns blaring, pedestrians blurring. As I walked, numb, to the Brooklyn Bridge, tourists snapped selfies. I gripped the rail, wind whipping my hair, staring at the East River churning below like my gut. Hours later, my phone exploded. 47 texts, 12 voicemails. Please, coffee shop, now. Against every instinct, I went. He was there, disheveled in yesterday's shirt, 2 Americanos steaming untouched. It's over, I said, sliding into the booth. No preamble. Justin. His voice cracked, that Texas lilt breaking. Tyler's. Pressure. The firm's culture. Hargrove pushes these alliances. It's networking, not what? Kissing in hotels. I laughed. Bitter. Save the closing argument. He reached across, but I jerked back. I was scared. The promotion, the family, everything riding on it. You make me want more. But God, the cost. Then pay it. My voice shook. Or let me go. Tears welled in his eyes. First I'd seen. Don't make me choose. You already did. I stood, chair scraping. He didn't stop me this time, just watched as I walked out into the dusk, the bell tinkling like a death knell. Back in Williamsburg, I burned the journal, flames licking charcoal lovers to ash in the sink, and called the gallery guy. That solo? Let's book it. Summer scorched the city. My show a smash. Reviews in the Village Voice calling it a gut punch elegy for lost boys. Ethan tried. Flowers at the door, notes slipped under mats. One chance. I binned them, but the ache festered, a bruise under ribs. Then late August, a knock at midnight. Him on the stoop, suit rumpled, eyes hollow. I quit, he said, no hello. Told Hargrove to fuck off. Tyler was a ladder rung. You're the summit. I crossed arms, heart traitor thudding. And now, nothing, just broke, free. He stepped closer, rain from a sudden shower slicking his hair. I choose you, if you'll have me. The kiss was salt and storm, his hands framing my face like fragile glass. We stumbled inside, clothes shedding like sins, bodies remembering paths to pleasure amid the wreckage. After tangled in sheets, he traced my tattoos. Marry me, he whispered. Not for show, for real. I searched his eyes, storm cleared to steady sea. Yes, but dawn brought reality. His severance check wouldn't last, my art sporadic. We pooled what we had, subletting a one-bed in the East Village. Cramped, chaotic hours. He tempied at a nonprofit, pro bono for queer asylum seekers. I taught workshops at the center, sketches turning to murals on community walls. Fall leaves turned gold as we rebuilt. Picnics in Prospect Park, his head in my lap reading Keats aloud, my fingers in his hair. No grand gestures, just quiet. Him holding my hand at a family Zoom where my Ohio folks finally, haltingly, asked about that nice boy. Me surprising him with tickets to a Rangers game, cheering hoarse as he hooped like a Texan. Yet shadows lingered. One November Eve, post-election blues heavy, we argued over takeout. His worry about money, my defensiveness over a canceled commission. We're scraping by, he snapped. What if it's not enough? Then we fight for more. I cupped his face, thumbs brushing stubble. Together, he softened, pulling me close. Promise. Swear. Winter wrapped us tight, holidays low-key. A tree from the lot, strung with popcorn and regrets. New Year's, we watched the ball drop from a rooftop bar, his arms around me as confetti rained. To accidents, he toasted, kissing me deep. To us. Spring bloomed tentative, his interview at a boutique firm specializing in civil rights, my mural commissioned for the Stonewall Inn. Pride weekend, we marched hand in hand. Rainbow flags snapping, his voice hoarse chanting, love is love. But June cracked open old wounds. A letter from Midland. Mama Hale. Frail script inviting reconciliation. Ethan paled reading it. Cancer, he whispered. Stage 4. The flight south was silent, his hand limp in mine. The ranch felt smaller, ghosts thicker. Daddy aged, eyes averted. Sister hovering, tearful. Mama lay in the four-poster, skin translucent, gripping Ethan's hand. My boy, she rasped then to me. You too, family. We stayed weeks, me sketching her from the rocker. Portraits of Grace in decay, while Ethan read her poetry, voice steady through tears. I love him, Mama, he said one dusk, her breath labored. Always did. She smiled faint. Knew. Prayed wrong. Then, to me, keep him whole. She slipped away at dawn, birdsong mocking the quiet. Funeral was fire and brimstone, preacher thundering judgment. But Ethan stood tall beside the casket, my hand in his pocket. Daddy pulled him aside after, gravel voice. Lost your mother. Don't lose yourself. Won't, Ethan said, chin up. This is me. Back in New York, grief hollowed us. Nights where he'd wake sobbing, me holding him through storms. But art healed. I painted her portrait for the loft wall. Eyes kind now, Ethan tracing it daily. Thank you, he'd say, kissing my temple. Summer hummed on, his new job a fit, defending trans kids in foster care, home late but lit from within. We adopted a rescue mutt, Buster, who chewed shoes but licked tears. Anniversaries marked in small ways. The train platform where it started, recreating the spill with Cheap Joe, laughing till we cried. Yet betrayal's echo whispered. One sticky July night, post-barbecue with friends, Tyler's name flashed on Ethan's phone voicemail, deleted quick. Old case, he muttered. I nodded, but doubt seeded. Confrontation brewed slow, erupting in August heat wave. AC busted, sweat slicking arguments. You're checking my phone? He accused, when I glimpsed a text. Miss our talks. Drinks? Trusts earned twice. I shot back. After everything. He deflated. It's nothing. Closure. Prove it. He did, blocked the number, showed me the firm directory. Tyler poached by a rival, grasping. We talked till dawn. Raw as open veins. Fears of relapse. The pull of ambition's poison. I choose us, he vowed, fingers laced with mine. Every time. Fall anchored us deeper. My first gallery contract, steady pay. His cases winning headlines, quiet heroism. Thanksgiving we hosted. My folks zooming in, tentative toasts. His family absent but cards arriving, signed with love. Winter whispered permanence. Christmas Eve. Snow blanketing the village. He knelt by the tree. Ring simple. Silver band etched with subway tracks. Accidents led here, he said, voice thick. Marry me proper. Tears blurred. Yes. The wedding was spring. Rooftop in Brooklyn. Cherry blossoms shedding like confetti. Friends toasting under string lights. Vows raw. I choose your mess, your heart, your fight. Rings exchanged. Kiss sealing amid cheers. Life post-vows? No fairy tale polish. Bills nipped heels. Arguments flared over chores and commutes. But mornings dawned with coffee kisses. Evenings with Buster at our feet. Ethan's head on my chest as we plotted futures. A house upstate, kids maybe, via surrogacy dreams. One May morning, a year to the day of that train touch, we rode the F again. Commuter crush familiar, his hand deliberate in mine. At our stop, he pulled me close. Love you, accidental husband. Love you more. The doors hissed open, world waiting. We stepped out together. Drifters no more, but navigators of storms. Hands linked against whatever came.